Welcome, everybody, back to the South End Zone. I am Chad. You see Tyler right there. Tyler, it's that time of year again. It's time to reload two of the best programs in the country. And it's funny, like recruiting is always fun because we think we know stuff about these guys, but we really don't. And later on, years down the road, we're like, wait, where was that guy from? Oh, he was a 5-star. Oh, that guy was Justin Jefferson was just a 2-star.
Yeah.
Those kinds of things always happen. But this is an exciting time of year, and we just completed the early signing period, and LSU and Georgia both had really good days. And so we're going to get into that a little bit, break down what all happened, where they fall in the rankings. And I have a little bit of a different take because I think LSU's ranking kind of belies what is actually going on and why I'm a little excited, even though their ranking isn't super high. But I'm going to let you kick things off first because I'm talking to the man who is a fan of the #1 recruiting class in the country, the Georgia Bulldogs.
Woo!
Tyler, let's talk a little bit about this class.
Yes.
You want to talk about this haul that you guys got and the guys you like a lot?
Recruiting national champions, they say this is where all national champions are made, Texas A&M included. This is where all national championships are won right here in the early signing period of December. What was yesterday? December 20th.
Yeah.
That's when I heard all national championships are won. So congratulations to us at 2024, 2025 national champs. No, I was happy. The first big thing, out of the recruiting period, was Dylan Raiola. We'll talk about it real quick. Dylan Raiola was number one quarterback in this class, and he flipped from us, boohoo, to Nebraska. I know his father played at Nebraska, I believe, and it was, we were like, okay, it's another 5-star that Kirby can stockpile, 5-star quarterback. Unfortunately, there's only one football, and there's only one person that can play quarterback at a time. So what do? Has flipped from us, which I am goodbye and good riddance, and here's why. This kid has played for, I believe it's 3 to 4 high schools. I'm not joking you. I need to look it up because this is this kid has played for at least 3 to 4 high schools, bought a house in Georgia. Bought a house in the state of Georgia. He's playing at I think he ended his high school career at Buford, Georgia. And then he was committed to Ohio State.
Yep.
For a little bit, and then said, "Psych, I'm going to Georgia." Lo and behold, 2-3 days ago, Carson Beck says, "Unfinished business. NFL can wait. I'm coming back to UGA," which is great for us because I believe a lot of guys will follow suit. It sounds like a lot of guys whose draft stock was kind of middle of the road are going to stick around. He said, "Oh, that's weird. I actually committed to Nebraska now." So goodbye and good riddance to Dylan Raiola, #1 quarterback in the 2024 class.
So what you're saying is I can expect to see video of him kicking in the door and breaking into a convenience store to steal vapes like Eric Gilbert at some point, because it reminds me a lot of that. And guess what? Guess where Eric Gilbert finished his college career? Nebraska. After he committed to LSU, signed with LSU, played half a season at LSU, then went into the portal, committed to Florida, pulled back his commitment to Florida, came back to LSU for a minute, then went back into the portal again, and then ended up at Georgia, then left you guys. Now, did he ever play a down for y'all?
I don't think so.
and then ends up at Nebraska, and then he ends up in jail. So it's I'm not saying I don't want to wish that on this kid. I kid because I can.
But it's more of like he's probably going to be in Nebraska at the end of the year.
It's a mental thing. Do you want someone who's that fickle?
He's JT Daniels times a million. He's JT Daniels to the max. JT Daniels played at 4 different universities in his college career. This kid's already played at multiple high schools and is committed to 3 different colleges. Yeah. Could you imagine he's just going to portal hop every year? I can see that out of this kid.
Right. All right. So enough about a guy who didn't commit to Georgia.
As far as the guys who we do have,
Talk about
You
the
know,
ones y'all did get.
we at least we had three 5 stars off the jump. We flipped KJ Bolden from Florida State, #1 safety in the country. Love that. We have the #1 linebacker and the #1 corner, all coming. Ellis Robinson the fourth, Justin Williams, all 5 stars coming to us. And then as you get down the line, we still have we put in work on lots of 4 stars. We're talking top 5 guys in their positions. We got #1 players out of the we got #1 player state of Virginia, #1 player in the state of state of Indiana. I almost said Indianapolis, Indiana. We have multiple guys. We're keeping it in house, keeping a lot of guys from the state of Georgia. Very important to us. #1 player in the state of Tennessee.
This kid Andre Evans was actually committed to LSU, flipped to Georgia. That one hurt. I got
#1 player in New Jersey. I think we even got kids from white boys from Connecticut coming down to play. And listen, don't doubt the white boys from these certain areas. We got Brock Bowers from Napa, California. So don't doubt what I don't doubt Kirby Smart. I think ever since Georgia lost Deshaun Watson at Clemson, did not keep him in the state of Georgia. It's okay, we got to make sure that all the top guys in our state are sticking home. But 3 5-stars already in the early signing period is huge. And we're talking about we're getting top edge guys, top receivers, running backs. We got where is he? Nate Frazier, modern day guy, Compton, California running back. I'm excited for him to get a #9 running back in the country, 13 in the state of Cali. Look, we got some big boys, some New Jersey guys, #1 defensive lineman in the state of New Jersey. I think that as far as the early signing period is concerned, and who we already have coming down the pipe, and as far as transfers, I know we actually lost a considerable number of transfers to the portal. Brock Vandegrift.
We have 2, but it's not guys who I'm hurting.
Brock Vandegrift was a 5-star quarterback, was #1 quarterback in his class. He's now at Kentucky. And Mekhi Muse, who you saw, our punt return / wide receiver, fastest ever. He was a walk-on at Georgia, and I don't think he was going to be on scholarship this year or but Syracuse offered him a full ride. So that's where he's going, which I kind of get. If you would you rather pay to play football or play football for free?
Right.
I mean, I as much as I hate that, I do get that.
Yeah, he's going to change his name to Mekhi Cuse.
Yeah, right. How are you feeling about the Tigers on this early signing day? Where do you guys rank?
Yeah, so let's get into this. So we'll there you guys are at #1. Pretty decent lead over Alabama at #2. Then Ohio State, Miami, Texas. So technically Texas in the SEC. So you've got 3 of the top 5 SEC schools. Then you got Oregon, then another SEC school, Auburn, then another soon-to-be SEC school in Oklahoma, then Notre Dame, and then there's LSU at #10 overall. And this is based on the overall industry rankings
stars.
Using Rivals, 24/7 Sports, On 3, and some others. But we end up at #10, and that on paper that looks like, oh damn, you got boat raced by 5 other SEC schools, and you finished 6th, and then you finished 3rd the year before that, and this is kind of ugly. Things are trending in the wrong direction with Brian Kelly. But I gotta say, this is the thing that you got to look at here. Watch as I go through this list and where these names are coming from. So here we go. We got Trey'Dez Green, I think he's the #1 tight end and the #2 player in the state of Louisiana. Weston Davis out of Beaumont. So you got Louisiana, Texas, then another kid out of Louisiana, Deshaun McBride, another kid out of Texas, then Louisiana, Texas, a kid out of Georgia, CJ Jackson, edge rusher. But then Louisiana. The point here being,
keep it in house, baby.
Of the top 10 players in the state of Louisiana, LSU has 8 of them already, and there's a 9th that is supposed to be signing with LSU in the second sign. What used to be the
only one
signing day in February. Yeah, the only signing day. But in the early period, to get 8 out of the top 10 players in the state of Louisiana, it's there's something to be said for okay, the national rankings are whatever, but going and grabbing these guys from California and Pennsylvania and Virginia and Florida, Georgia, and everything, that's great. And a lot of the time, those guys produce, and they're very productive, and like long term, they become. Patrick Peterson's one, came out of Florida, and he's like LSU through and through. Repping the school in the NFL. But I go back to like Justin Jefferson again. He was a 2-star, maybe a 3-star by some ratings agencies, but he was from Louisiana. And like, there's a different, when you get those guys, Jarvis Landry, Odell Beckham Jr., like these guys are from Louisiana. Like there's something to be said for locking down the best talent in your state, because what we see, especially in the era of NIL and the transfer portal, we see it all too often where one of these guys gets enticed to go across the country or even a state or two over. And then 1 year in, he's a little upset, homesick, transfers back to where closer to home anyway.
I'll give you a prime example. So this is still in the Mark Richt there. And Mark Richt, as you know, we talk about the production on the field. Mark Richt was a great recruiter. Do you remember Jacob Eason?
Yep.
So he's the #1 quarterback, I believe, in the country, and he's from the state of Washington. We got him to come all the way down to Athens and play with us. He started, got hurt. Jake Fromm comes in, obviously takes us to a national championship. Easton goes back to the state of Washington. Things like that happen, and it's also like something to be said of keeping your guys in house. Like we talk about, some of the greatest high school football players ever in the state of Georgia. We talk about Trevor Lawrence and Deshaun Watson. Neither one of them went to the University of Georgia. That stuff kind of hurts.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So I mean, it is what it is. But it's a lot to be said. Like you said, like the top 10 players in Louisiana are all going to go to LSU. Like the top 9 out of the 10.
I think there's one Louisiana kid that's not coming to LSU.
Like that, but that's like the fact that you have the top 9 of 10.
Right.
Like,
no, it's huge.
That's massive for your program. And it's like it just keeps building. Like, okay,
that's the
part. It keeps building. It's like, okay, obviously if I'm the best player in Louisiana, I'm going to play for the Tigers.
I'm going to play for LSU. Right.
Like it's not even a second option.
There's some kids
mentality.
There's some kids who just want to leave. And that's like they're lost anyway. Like there's nothing you can do.
Yeah.
If a kid wants to go somewhere else, they're gonna go somewhere else. Like there were kids that like they just wanted to go to Oregon because it looked cool and felt cool to go. So, like,
well, they want to go see another part of the country or something.
You want to go explore, and but then when it comes down to, and that's one of the things that Nick Saban did really, really well was he locked down the borders of Louisiana when he was here at LSU.
Yeah.
And the problem for LSU was when he left and went to Alabama, he still kept pulling guys. Dylan Moses, Derrick Henry, not Derrick Henry, Eddie Lacy. Eddie Lacy was from New Orleans. I didn't think
Derrick Henry was.
No, Derrick Henry's not. Eddie Lacy is from New Orleans.
Yep.
He got Cameron. Oh gosh, what's the guy? The big offensive tackle, who played for the Chargers, I think, for a minute. But anyway, he got all these guys from like Monroe and Shreveport and New Orleans and Baton Rouge. Even Dylan Moses ripped him right out of Baton Rouge. Dylan Moses went to the lab school on campus at LSU for grade school and high school. Went to Alabama instead of LSU. Like imagine like you spend your whole life on campus
went to
at LSU.
School at LSU before he went to that's crazy. I didn't know that.
Yeah. They have a little University High lab school that's on campus at LSU.
Oh wow.
And they're one of my kids' school's rivals. But anyway, they as long as we beat them in basketball, it's cool. I don't care. But yeah, so it's stuff like that. And like Derek Stingley is another one. Like he went to another one of my kids' rival schools. He went to Dunham here in Baton Rouge. Went to LSU, and now he's repping the university in the NFL. But I wanted to show you this too. So it's not just so you got those 8 out of the top 10, and potentially it looks very likely 9 out of 10 coming to Louisiana in this in this whole recruiting cycle. But it's not just that. The next highest state that you're represented by is Texas, right next door.
Yeah, which is also
Weston
big
Davis
to pull from.
Right, Weston Davis from Beaumont, Caden Durham from Duncanville, and then we go down and you got Jelani Watkins, who's like the fastest player in the country. He's a two-sport athlete. Track ran like a 10.27 in the 100 and a 20.5 in the 200. Like, all right, so this is what's crazy about it. Dude runs a 10.27 in the 100, runs a 10.27 in the second 100. So for a 20.54, he runs exactly the same speed for the first 100 as the second 100. Like he doesn't drop off.
You need those kind of dudes though.
Yeah.
I mean, and like, listen, Texas, like if the SEC, now that Texas is in the SEC, we'll see. But like, it was always like a thing. If like you're an SEC school and you can pull from Texas, that's also huge because like obviously there's so many universities in the state of Texas for these kids to go to, or kids might bail out to Oklahoma. I know that's always been a thing of Oklahoma stealing Texas products. We got Justin Williams. We got the number 2 player in the state of Texas. I would also like to make it known. Sorry, Iowa, state of Iowa. We have the number 1 punter in the country from the state of Iowa. Number 18 in the state. Number 18 player in the state is a punter. In the state of Iowa is a punter.
Yeah, look, we got the number 2 kicker in the country, place kicker in the country, and he's out of Louisiana, but he's coming to LSU. So both of us pulled a good a guy who's good with his foot. All right, so here's Devon Keys, another Texas kid, Ori Williams, another Texas kid, and then PJ Woodland from Hattiesburg, Mississippi, right across the border over there. Some more kids from Louisiana. Like, look at all these Louisiana names. Like, we like completely locked down the state of Louisiana.
We have no Louisiana products that I'm seeing on this early signing period.
So we had 2 kids from Georgia, a kid from Mississippi, I think 5 or 6 from Texas. Everybody else is from Louisiana.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's again, when you're trying to lock down the best talent, and it wasn't a great year in terms of like where the Louisiana guys ranked nationally but those things are so arbitrary. Like it's like, really, what do you think the difference is between the number 59 guy and the number 75 guy in the country? You really think that like these people who rate these guys have gone and watched enough film of all of these guys to be like, no, this guy is definitely 14 spots better than this guy? Like, no, it's a lot of it is very arbitrary. And like the whole star system is whatever it is. Locking down the best guys in your state, though,
is huge.
Is like okay, like we're building a culture here of like, if you're good and you play in Louisiana, come to LSU, because we're going to start building championships with people who want to be here, people who bleed purple and gold, who want to, you know what I mean? Like they want to represent the state well. And I don't think it hurts that you have 2 out of the last 4 Heisman Trophy winners at the quarterback position either, because for a long period of time, LSU recruited very, very well at every position but quarterback. Yeah. We had terrible quarterbacks for a decade or more. And now we finally are back to like, we've got elite quarterback play. And so that's, you look at the teams that win national championships, and it's very rare that you find a team that has a bad quarterback or just a, borderline game manager quarterback that pulls it off.
Yeah. I will also say, like, what's also interesting, like we talk about the recruiting period, is you also have to now talk about the transfer period.
Yep.
We only have 1 so far, but we locked down Vandy's number 1 wide receiver, apparently one of the best transfer receivers in this. Which is interesting because 24/7 Sports has their high school star ranking, which is this kid London Humphreys was a 3-star recruit out of high school, but he's a 4-star transfer. It's interesting how they're doing this now. 24/7 Sports has this, so we locked him down. I believe that you also picked from the Ivy League of the South, the Ivy League of the South.
Vandy is coughing up some star athletes here recently. Yes, a guy who, for a little stretch of time until Jaden Daniels just ran away with it, AJ Swan was actually leading the SEC in passing early on in the season. He transfers only as a 3-star transfer, but he was a 4-star. Or no, that's what it was. He was a 3-star coming out of high school. He is a 4-star transfer according to Rivals anyway. 3-star according to ESPN 24/7 and On3. But he's transferring from Vandy to LSU. Xavier Thomas, a really good wide receiver out of Mississippi State, is coming to LSU as well. He's from, and this is another one of those guys. Where is he from?
Louisiana.
John Ehret in Marrero, Louisiana. So he's coming back home. Another guy, Jordan Gilbert, was at A&M from that same school, University High, the lab school here in Baton Rouge. He's coming back home to Baton Rouge to play football. And there's talk about going after some of the other guys that are available. One that's really interesting is Texas A&M receiver Evan Stewart, who's possibly the best player in the transfer portal this offseason. He's one of the best receivers in the country and had, like, I was actually talking to a guy. It was funny and interesting to see that what's his name? Draylon Miller, the big stud receiver out of Silsbee, Texas. He had committed to Texas A&M and then backed off of his commitment. And there was talk. I was talking to a guy that I know over in Texas who actually went to Silsbee High School. And he was talking about how the reason why he backed off that commitment to Texas A&M because he was looking at it and he's like, LSU's number 3 receiver had the same number of same yards receiving at that point in the season that Evan Stewart had at Texas A&M, and he was their number 1 receiver. And so he's like, why would I go there when I can go to LSU instead? He ends up not going to LSU. I don't even remember where he went, but Draylon Miller, he backed off his commitment to A&M and is going elsewhere for college. But yeah, that kind of thing happens. We'll see what Evan Stewart ends up doing. But there's a lot of stuff still left to happen with the transfer portal. And it's so weird too. Like, you remember it used to be you could only have 25 guys. Now it's just like with the transfer stuff, they're just like, yeah, it doesn't matter. Recruit however many guys out of high school you can.
Yeah, but it's interesting too, because it's like now, like we've brought this up in the past, but it's like you have those scholarship allocations, obviously. But it's like now it's like I forget how many football gets. It's like isn't like as you said, it's like 30,
85. 85 is the
per class though. Do you know, or is it?
Oh no, per class it used to be 25
Okay, so yeah,
now there's so many people leaving.
That's what I mean. It's like how many of those do you
end up with like 40 sometimes?
Yeah, how much of those scholarships do you leave for incoming freshmen?
Yeah,
and how much of those do you set aside for transfer portal guys?
Right.
Like, do you know, like, okay, like it's interesting too.
I think it depends, right? Because I think that so one of the problems that LSU has found themselves in the last couple of years is they've been overly transfer portal heavy, and it hasn't been good transfers.
It's been guys in, you mean?
Yeah, the guys they've been bringing in are these guys that go to these low level schools. These guys were like 2-3-star guys coming out of high school. They're not that fast. They're playing, we got corners that run like a 4.7 40. I'm just sorry, but that ain't going to cut it. Like you look at the guys who LSU got the name, maybe, some of it's self-professed, but I think it stands up. If you look at the guys they've put into the NFL, they call themselves DBU for a reason. Patrick Peterson, Tyrann Mathieu, Tre'Davious White, Greedy Williams, Grant Delpit. Like there's a whole line of guys who have been, and these are all like elite speed guys. That's what you got to have to play in the SEC. And so I was actually kind of glad to see Jordan Gilbert come back to LSU because we needed a safety who was at that level. He was a 4-star guy coming out of high school, and he's got that speed to play that position, decent size at 6'1" and 200 pounds. But your transfers can be a decent portion of your roster if you're going after the guys. Maybe you can get a couple of like lower level guys to plug some gaps for depth, but you can't. At some point, you have to build through and that's why I loved what they did this year. LSU did, getting all these guys from Louisiana as freshmen. They're less likely to leave because they're home. They stayed home. And so build your future through that, and then
Yep.
plug your depth holes. And if you need an elite guy, and you can go get an Evan Stewart, or in this case, like an AJ Swan, go get like an elite backup quarterback who,
Yeah.
even if he doesn't play, even if he doesn't start, like I don't know, like what if Garrett Nussmeier wins the job, maybe AJ Swan's better off sticking around and being part of this offense.
Yep.
And having it to where like he can still go get pro tryouts.
Yep.
As a guy who played as a backup,
Mm-hmm. No, that's what I mean. Like I think that we so far both of our schools have made out good in the class in this recruiting class.
Mm-hmm.
I think that there's a lot more yet to come. I think that we're plugging in the right holes already. Like I think that some of these D guys, some of these defensive guys that we're getting, cornerbacks, linebackers, D tackles, things like that is what we need. And we're also reloading at wide receiver, which I'm happy with. And I just always it's crazy. Like we're getting like how are you 6'7" and in high school? Like that's a grown man. Like what?
Yeah,
Where
I
is
know.
he?
I don't.
This
Man,
kid
look.
from Texas. Where is he? Oh, he's 6'4", 275.
Yeah.
Like how are you just like 6'8", 360?
Yeah,
Tackle out of New
that's just
Jersey.
crazy.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah.
Like that's just Division I size. But I think overall we're like I'm like early signing period is great. I think that there's I kind of like I said, it's weird that we have to talk about 2 signing periods and not just like the February, like D-Day, where it's ESPN all day and kids are in their gyms putting on hats and like they're doing the fake out where they pick the one and throw the that kind of stuff. But I think overall,
I will say I'm glad to see that kind of go away.
Oh, like the little fake out. Like
that it's really like yesterday was just a nonstop like steady stream of like everybody who was committed signed pretty much. I mean, there were a few flips,
but there were
a few flips, but there wasn't all that BS drama.
But it wasn't like it wasn't like in the moment flips. Like when Raiola flipped, it was it was like a day or two before the actual signing period.
Right.
Like what was that recruit? I forget his name. Who like it was like at the last like his family was like literally wearing like I don't know if it was like they were wearing like Tennessee stuff. And like at the last minute, he put on like a Florida hat, and like his family's just like flipping out. Like I forget, but
I think so. I remember. You remember Landon Collins?
Yes, is that who
he played for the Giants, played for Alabama. When he was committed to LSU.
Okay,
and his whole family like basically booed him at the Under
That's
Armour
what it was.
when he
That's what it was.
when he said he was committing to Alabama. His mom was like, no.
Yes, that's what it was. That's what it was.
Yeah, shout out to that guy. That's another one who's like from Louisiana and just like sold us out to go play for Saban. But that's again, I say that because what Saban did was he leveraged his relationships that he had while he was at LSU to keep those high school coaches in his good favor so that he could keep getting recruits out of there. And then, now what Brian Kelly is doing, this is a very positive signal to me to lock down the top talent in the state and to lock down like a bunch of like you look at a class that had 27 signees and like 20 of those guys are from Louisiana, maybe 18 of them are from Louisiana, and those 18 are 18 of like the top 25 or 30 in the state. That's a big deal.
That's huge.
Because as you keep going forward, you make it to where it's less likely that those studs from inside your state leave the state. You start reconnecting with those coaches and getting that buy-in from the guys locally. So and I think you guys do the same thing. Like that's Georgia, and we've got Texas, right nearby that we can go pluck people from.
We get guys from Florida,
but y'all get guys from Florida. That's what I was gonna say. Y'all get guys from Florida that's another hotbed. Florida and Texas are two real big ones. But thing is, like Louisiana and Georgia, like if you look at like the per capita, NFL caliber talent, they're right up there. If not, like you go to like New Orleans and Baton Rouge are like two of the top 10 cities in the country when it comes to per capita NFL talent.
That's a great point, and it's dude. I think,
and I bet Atlanta is up there too.
Atlanta's always up there. Like, we get guys from all over. But then I feel like Kirby's really got that national reach, as you can see with these with these. If you look at the breakdown, I'll break it down for you right now. There's 28 of those early signees. Only 9 of them are from the state of Georgia. We got 3 from Florida, 3 Texas, 2 New Jersey, 2 Virginia, 1 Cali, 1 Connecticut, 1 Illinois, 1 Indiana, 1 Iowa, 1 Missouri, 1 New York, 1 North Carolina, 1 Tennessee. And those guys that are like 1-1-1-1-1 are like the top guys in their state.
Yeah.
So like,
well, and I was going to say, when you have the #1 recruiting class in the country,
Yeah.
then you kind of have to, in order to get that
you
ranking,
branch out different states.
you have to go. You can't do it all in state.
Yeah.
But if you're going to have a number 10 overall class and not be in the top 5, I'd much rather it be the best talent in your state that you're keeping locked down, instead of going to, Virginia for their 95th best player and to Tennessee for their 86th best player. You know what I'm saying? Like that.
Yeah.
It's much better to just grab the, your top 50 guys in state, get almost all of the top 25 of them.
I think that you and our teams are blessed with some of the best recruiters in the.
Absolutely.
I even give Brian Kelly is like.
Well, we stole Cortez Hankton from you guys.
Yeah. Yes. And then Brian Kelly,
and our receiver room has gotten a lot better since then too. And
Brian Kelly being the guy who had to recruit under the, call it, stipulations of a Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Who it's like there is an academic standard used, like, I mean, not to BS either one of our teams, but like there is an academic standard you have to meet if you want to play football at Notre Dame. Now, once again, not BSing LSU, but he does have more availability of talent.
Yeah. Yep.
Like I'm like, and that's not to be disrespectful.
No, it's just
one of our teams. But Notre Dame has like a very high standard
math, bro.
It's
just math. It's just math. Anything that you do that limits the pool that you can pull from, because we deal with this. My boys play basketball. They go to a 2A school.
Yep.
And we see this all the time, that like you're not going to have a basketball roster full of like 6'3" to 6'8" guys at a 2A school. It's next to impossible unless you go recruiting and breaking rules, which is funny because there's a school that's in our classification, a 2A school that does just that. They have a bunch of 6'8". They won the last 2 state championships. Now they're on probation for the next year. They had to vacate their last 3 years worth of wins. They had to vacate their 2 state championships, and their coach is suspended for a calendar year. And they're out of the postseason for this year. So saying all that to say that when you go to a 5A school that has 500 kids in a graduating class instead of 60 to 100.
Yeah.
Well, think about it. If you have 60 to 100 kids in your graduating class and half of those are girls, that means you have maybe 50 dudes
to pick from.
And of those 50 dudes, the ones that are interested and skilled enough to play basketball are what you've got going for you, right? Or football even.
Yeah, right. That's like an entire high school football roster. It's 50 guys.
Right. So so naturally, like, at our school, the freshmen are dressing out for varsity games.
Yep. That sounds right.
In football. And in basketball, we've got sophomores dressing out who, it's not because they're like elite level sophomores. It's just because that's how many spots we have, and we actually have a really good, we have 8 seniors this year. So we're actually pretty loaded in our senior class, unlike a lot of years. Last year we had 2 seniors. So, that's kind of the setup that you deal with that. Whereas like some of these bigger schools, you got 500 kids. Well, now you have 250 kids, 250 boys to choose from, and of those 250 boys, you got a pretty good shot, especially like if you're in one of these big cities, like you got a decent shot that you're going to have some 6'8" dudes. And,
or if you're in Texas,
right?
Like you're anywhere in Texas, like
it's just naturally that like the
I
bigger.
Can imagine being this big.
So when you get to
17 years old,
so like if you have a Vanderbilt, a Notre Dame, a Harvard, whatever, varying levels of, admission standards that are more strict than a public, state university like Georgia or LSU or Florida State or anything like that. Well, naturally,
Your pool shrinks.
Your pool shrinks. You don't have access to everybody.
Yep.
So you're naturally going to be up against it. You've got to really, really recruit your ass off. So yeah, Brian Kelly going to LSU and being able to tap into that talent. And I have to say, they made fun of him for his fake accent when he first came onto the scene at that basketball game where they showed, he waved to the crowd at halftime and did his family or whatever they made fun of him for, which I didn't even think. I think it was probably just like he was trying to say something and it started out. You ever do that where like you start to say one word and then you switch it up? Like, I don't think he was trying to fake a Southern accent. And even if he was, like, whatever, but make fun of him all you want. That man just locked down the state of Louisiana this recruiting cycle.
And he's going to keep doing it.
And you don't have to talk like Ed Ogeron to keep the Louisiana boys. You don't have to eat 9 bowls of gumbo on the recruiting trail in one day to lock down the state of Louisiana, apparently. So I'm pumped about it. But
I think we made out pretty good. Both schools.
Yeah, for sure.
Made out pretty good. And I think we'll probably revisit once the actual February signing period has come around and the transfers shake out. I think we'll have a good idea. I think when all is said and done, I hope that we maintain that number 1 recruiting class. But at the end of the day, I really don't care.
Yeah,
because no national championships are won on signing day, so like I really don't care. Like
it's not true. Ask Texas A&M. They crown themselves national champions every recruiting cycle, except for this one, of course. They were not claiming anything. But yeah, no. We are joking.
Texas A&M is the butt of half of our jokes in this podcast, and they just have to deal with it.
As well they should be. They just have to suck it up, Suck it up, Buttercup. That's the way it is. Anyway, that'll wrap it up for this recruiting special. We're gonna like Tyler said, we're gonna get back and hit the recruiting again in February when the final national signing day occurs and all the transfers and everything else are complete and everything is kind of locked in. And then we'll probably have to tap on it again when we get into the summer because there's going to be more transfers and other kind of weirdness
and camp battles and people trying to
training camp battles, right? But we want you to keep staying tuned here. Don't forget to like, to share, and to subscribe. If you got family and friends who like SEC sports, especially SEC football or just college football in general, make sure you share this with them and spread the love. And we will get back to you. We're gonna come back with our next episode is going to be going over the schedules for this year because LSU and Georgia both have some pretty tough schedules coming up, and there's some really interesting schedules throughout the conference as Texas and Oklahoma have been added. The divisions East and West are no more. There's a whole lot of upheaval. Some new rivalries are being ignited, and some old rivalries are making a comeback. Texas A&M is one that comes to mind. And so we will, and some old rivalries are going away, just because that's how things happen when these little conference divorces happen.
Yeah.
But we're looking forward to it. It's going to be a fun 2024 season, and we are ready to get cracking on it. Stay tuned, and we'll see you guys next time. For Tyler, I am Chad. This is the South End Zone. We are out. Peace y'all.